So what's going on, everybody? So y'all know who I am. This is Fatherhood episode number 4, and I got 3 great guys, including me, with this episode. So I just want to kind of introduce from my left, your right, on to the right. So I got Mr. Warren G. Cox with me. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man?
Ain't nothing, man.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man. Be here. You know, y'all know who this guy is. You know, Mr. J.R. Johnson. And we got BJ. And so this is episode 4 of Fatherhood. So, fellas, y'all doing all right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Fist of Fury? Fist of Fury?
I'm good, man.
All right, so let's get this thing started. So, look, we know we talked about, just a little small recap, we talked about just the basis of fatherhood and what that was and kind of what society defines fatherhood as. You know, we kind of went episode 2, we kind of dove deeper into like fatherlessness and what that looks like. And episode 3, you know, we talked about blended families a little bit, you know. And so, G, I want to start with you. So we know that, you know, tell them a little bit about yourself. And I want you to start off by just describing like what fatherhood means to you.
Well, about myself, we all know I'm from North Carolina. My dad died, I want to say I was about 21. So I had him in my early years, but my parents divorced when I was about 6. The difference with me is I still got to see my dad when I wanted to see my dad.
Right.
I was with my mom. So it wasn't, we didn't go through that, like, I don't know,
That awkward.
Yeah, that awkward of adjustment. I wasn't walking around here, you know, talking about it's the end of the world type thing. I was okay. You know, I knew I'm going to dad's house, I'm going to go to my mom's house, I'm good. So that's just me. Everybody else, they handle that differently.
Real quick, so how old were you when they got divorced?
I think I was about 6.
6. Did you, and you may not have, but like, was there like a difference when you went to dad's house versus being with mom? I assume that you was living with mom and you go see your dad?
Well, it wasn't really, I ain't gonna say a difference because my dad stayed with my grandma, so
Okay.
I was the only child. I'm the only child, so it was kind of like, I know this might sound bad to say, but I was cool long as I got whatever I wanted.
What you want?
Yeah, so I go to dad's, grandma take me shopping. Cool. I didn't think about the other stuff.
Right.
You know, I'm with mom chilling. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to grandma's house.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of how it was. So it wasn't like an awkwardness. I just knew when I go to grandma's house, this is what we're going to do. We're going to K&W, we're going to go eat, and we're going to go walk in the mall. That was it. So, I mean, you know, like I said, my experience was probably different than a lot of other people.
Right. On that note, Brandon, so tell us your story a little bit, like as far as your experience with your father, your growing up, you know, where you are.
Yeah, I had my father in my life. My parents, they're still together. They got married a year after I was born. So, I mean, he was around. I probably saw him more than my mom because my dad worked night shift. So I was around him more throughout the day. He didn't like us being babysit or being watched by other people outside of like my mom and my dad. So we got a pretty good relationship. Really don't have really too much complaints. He was definitely a central figure in my life. Like I definitely to this day still look up to him.
Right.
So
I'm gonna bounce it back to you. I know you said that you were 21 when your father.
Yeah, I think I was 21.
left. So what's one significant thing or anything, any number that you can think of that you took from your father?
Man, it's a couple things. My dad was a funny guy. He kind of showed me, and this might sound crazy, showed me a lot of what not to do.
Did he directly tell you, or
No,
you kind of watched it?
no, you know, he always got in trouble for driving without a license. You know, I mean, he did that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, what else? He had his little run in with drugs.
Right.
The crazy part, I never saw that. I never knew. Everybody else knew he was on drugs. I didn't know. I just knew, yeah, that's dad.
Right.
But, women, I would take him to about 3-4 different women's houses once I had my license.
You took him?
Yeah, man. He like, hey, you know, man, run me by what you call a house. And I sit in the car and wait. I won't think about nothing because I'm hanging with dad.
Yeah.
With dad. He'll come out. Hey, can you run me around at such as I have? I'm like, okay, let's go. We went about 3 different women's houses in like one day. And he was, once again,
wow.
It was like, I was cool though because I was hanging with my dad. And, yeah, man, he just showed me. He was a walking life lesson
Wow.
On what not to do.
of what not to do.
So now, at what point did you define this is what I shouldn't be doing?
Oh, I mean,
In
it was
your
quick
life.
after I saw him. I mean, because his you know,
Like, was it at a point like did you want to do some of the things that your dad was doing, like when you were coming up?
no.
So you knew it. You knew it was wrong, right?
I knew it was wrong. But he kind of like, hey, yeah, you know. And I mean, even when I was younger, I would go see my dad on Sundays in prison.
Right.
But in my mind, I knew he was there. Cool, we can go and sit down, chop it up at the little table.
Wow.
You know, we was chilling. It won't like no awkward. Yeah, you know I hate seeing you here.
Right.
It won't that type of thing you saw on TV. It was like, okay, well, yeah, my dad up there at the correctional center, driving with revoke license, whatever. Like when I say it happened constantly.
So I take it that your mom never talked down about your dad, or at least to you.
Nope.
About your dad, or tainted the way that he looked to you.
Never.
So that's something that we kind of talked about, JR, about like identity and like how you need, a father, let alone just men, to kind of,
Create the identity. For
yeah,
themselves.
create the identity. Just like you were saying, I'm with my dad. I kind of feel some type of way. What about you, Brandon? What's a memory or something that you can say you pulled away from growing up that your dad maybe directly or indirectly gave to you?
He gave me a lot of advice. I kind of felt like I was there with him with all of his events because he basically told me everything. He didn't hide nothing from me, and I think he did that just so I wouldn't make the same mistakes that he did. So he was very open. I mean, even to this day, he's still open. So I guess in that regard, I took a lot of that away from him just because so yeah.
Wow. So I mean, it gives me a couple thoughts. Like even with my dad, I discovered something. Yesterday I was talking with my brother, and he reminded me that like when we grew up in the house, when my dad wasn't there were other guys there. So like if we were to go and play in the streets or something like that, and then my uncle lived right up the street from us, and he would kind of like give us advice and tell us things and kind of keep us on that same path, that my dad, kind of had us on. Is there any person, JR, I'll start with you. Is there anybody besides your father, your dad, that that you could count on to kind of keep you in that same path that your dad may have started you with?
Oh yeah, all of my uncles.
Uncles.
Yeah, my uncles, and of course my aunts too. But one uncle that when every time we together, we always chop it up. We talk deep talk and all that kind of stuff. And it's my Uncle Pat. He's the youngest out of youngest boy on my mom's side, and he's filled with a lot of knowledge and wisdom. And every time we chop it up, it'd be about sports and just about life in general.
Yeah.
And so that's him is the one that if it's not my dad, I look up to him too.
Right.
Because he played ball, I played ball, and he always connected with people. He had a unique way of connecting with people. So I kind of like favor him as far as my looks as well. And some say I talk like him too. So, but yeah, he's one. He's another one that I look up to. So.
I got a question for you fellas. So this might sound like a weird question at first, but like just think about it. Like so, number one, think about this. Have you guys ever had the talk, like that sex talk, right? And if so, can you tell us maybe what your father said? And if it's not your father, how did you learn? Because I think it's important because like a lot of times these days, with the kids, like I feel like the parents are not having these talks with their kids, like things about sex and things like that. And let alone the kids are getting information from other kids who got no experience or who's experimenting with things. How important, number one, is it that fathers, I know you have, kids, I got kids, you got kids, and Lord bless you, you're going to have some kids. But like how important, I'll start with you, G, how important do you think that is in this society, but just in general?
This society is very important because it's more going on now than what was going on when I was younger.
Yeah.
When we were younger.
Right.
Did I have that talk? Did my dad give me the talk? No, I didn't get that talk. I didn't get that talk. Once again, those were one of the things like I learned from other people's mistakes. So I had, and my cousins, I got a bunch of them, and their dads, I would always, we always spending the night at somebody's house. So I'm hanging out with, so that was that figure. But, they'd be like, yeah, man, my dad told me, like, here, y'all take one of these, take these different color ones. This is what you do. So that was the talk. It's kind of like, all right, make sure you put this on. Or look, or go get 75 cents, go to the gas station, go in the bathroom.
How did you know how to put it on?
So I had one uncle. Cool. My uncle had a box with a bunch of tapes in there. And me and my cousin, we just sneak and watch and be like, oh, okay. But granted, those tapes don't really show you how to put that on. It's just, I'm like, okay, so this gonna go on this, and you do that right there. So,
yeah.
I put, 1 or 2 together and came out with 5 somewhere in there. But yeah, that's kind of how that went. Yeah, so it was never like, hey son, have a seat. We need to have a talk. It was never that. It was like, my cousin told me this is how we do. Yeah, pass these out for the dance, and that was it.
I think every young kid, every young boy, at a certain point, I don't know if it's peer pressure or it's just this outward pressure. You see your friends, and it's like girls is the thing, and
you gotta do it to fit in with your peers.
Yeah, it's kind of like pressure. I remember like when I was younger, I guess magazines was this thing back then, like Playboy, and so me and my
page 42. Page 42, beauty of the week.
Me and my brother, we would get these magazines and we would hide it, from my parents in our room, like in the drawer, like just tuck it under, like they're not gonna come in and just.
I put your laundry in. Yeah.
But I don't remember having that talk, like a direct talk.
Right.
What I remember, cause see, my father's a pastor. What I remember is like, hey, Bub. My dad used to call us Bub. Mm-hmm. Hey, Bub. From where you come from, I'm a pastor, so you can't be out there. This is my talk. You can't be out there.
Don't be out here embarrassing.
Just out there embarrassing us, or doing things that I'm preaching against these things. So how does it look? So that was sticking me. Like, how does it look if you out there doing this, but I'm sitting there preaching against this?
And my own son is out here.
That doesn't stop you from how you feel on the inside because you want to experiment.
How important? That's what I'm saying. So I go back to the question. Brandon, I'll send it to you. How important is it that, somebody, uncle, father, somebody, cousin, sit you down and really give you some real good knowledge about things like sex?
Oh, I think it's important. I go back to my own experience. My dad got me when I was like young, like 10.
Come on, Brandon, sign us.
I'm serious. Like so I have an older sister, but she's same father but different mom. So, and like I said, my dad didn't hide nothing from me, right? He told me straight up. He was a wild child growing up. He did a lot of experimenting, and he was just like, look, and he's not in the church like that. He goes every now and then, but he's not heavy on it. But he has a biblical mindset, I guess you could say.
Right.
And he was like, look, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but it would be best if you just avoid this until you get older and you find the right one, because you're gonna save yourself a lot of headache. And I can just see the headache in his face. Not only that, like,
he probably had some situations.
Yeah, he had some situations because he would. I mean, I knew about child support, and I'm like 9 years old. We would make weekly trips to see my older sister, and I got a good relationship with her. But even her mom, but she's gone now. She passed away. But she never disrespected me. But she gave my father
gave him a run for
his money, man. Every week, it was something new. So and he would tell me on the ride back, like, hey man, you just don't do it.
After he dropped off that check,
don't do it. Don't do it. So I mean, but I just think we need more men that's real like that. Just that isn't afraid to talk about their experience.
Be honest.
And just be honest. And that way maybe we won't see a repeat going forward.
Right.
But to add to what he said, men be more honest. I know this more like in a religious mindset. A lot of men in churches don't talk to their children like that.
No,
a lot of men that's involved in church,
that is true.
They don't talk to their children. The moms do, but not to that point to where.
But see, it's different when you hear it from your father.
Right, exactly.
It's different. Like, you know, my mom would say stuff like that all the time. But, you know, it stuck with, I don't know, for whatever reason, it stuck with me when it came from my father. Like, when he said it was like stamp, seal, and proven. No disrespect to women.
Oh, yeah, we love women.
Yeah, we love them, but like I said, when it came from him, I was like, I can't, you know? So.
Yeah. See, my talk came after the fact. It was kind of too late. My mom and dad divorced. I explained that the first time we talked.
Yeah.
When I was in 5th grade, and you know, I started hanging out with family, cousins, and all that kind of stuff, and so I kind of experimented through at a young age, and then I don't get to sit down and have a serious conversation with my dad.
Yeah.
Until one day it was pretty funny. At this time, I think he remarried. And so he had a picture of a condom. Well, not a picture, he had a condom.
Your dad?
So he's like, do you know what this is?
You know what this is, boy?
I think I was, 16 or 17? I was like, yeah, I know what that is. And so he was like, well, just make sure you don't, I can't remember all that he said. I think he said don't use it until it's time for you to get married or whatever. So,
so should I go without it?
But it's like it was already too late for the talk.
Gotcha.
So it's like I already know about that.
It's been going on. I got you.
What do you think? Like, so like you said, like in the religious set, like there's no talk about sex or even men stepping up. I know churches do it like mentorship and stuff like that, but like, why don't men feel comfortable, I guess, having talks like that? What's the uncomfortability about that?
Men don't talk.
Yeah, you got a point.
So maybe we should.
It's funny because like my dad, he never.
Some men, I'll just put it that way.
He never. I mean, he would talk about sex, but he would never go in detail, like
awkward conversation.
Yeah, like he never mentioned condom or nothing like that. He was just like, hey, stay away from it. It's gonna save you a lot of headache. That was it. He never once whipped out a condom or anything like that.
I'm dropping my dad off to it. So I didn't get it. So.
Yeah, but like we didn't have that that intercourse talk. He was just like, look, stay away from it. That's it. Man, he didn't go. He never went in detail. He said he messed with a lot of women. That was that. I had to put 2 and 2 together because I didn't know what messing with women meant at like 10 years old.
Right.
So it wasn't until I was like 15, 16, 17, I figured out, okay, then, everything started clicking. But, yeah, I mean, like what you said, we don't really like talking like that, so.
Yeah, we got to do more talking, because, women do it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Right now, downstairs, we got our wives sitting there, just talking and connecting. Men, we don't do that as much, but I guess we communicate in a different way.
We do.
Right. Yeah, we do.
Perhaps. We got what we call codes.
And we talk about everything else.
We talk about everything else. We don't talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah, at this point, hey, what you gonna say to me? I'm kind of... Look.
So Warren, so I know you have 2 kids.
Right.
What you have a boy and a girl,
right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So now, like, how do you think? What type of father are you thinking that you're going to be with your kids? Because something like I'm listening to you. You seem like you had a buddy relationship with your dad. Like, yeah. With me and my dad, it was kind of like when he comes home, I'm like, authorities in the house. Yeah. I'm gonna button up, tighten up. Yes, sir.
Well, you talking about as far as the relationship with my kids?
With your kids, yeah.
Well, it's one of those. Right now, it's more of authoritative.
Right. So you're saying different levels require different.
And so it's kind of like. So like I told you, my dad showed me what not to do. So with me and my kids, it's like, hey, no, we ain't finna go down this road. No, this is what we're gonna do, and this is what we ain't gonna do. Kind of, it's a different level,
right?
And it works with them. They're great. I'm like, hey, they already understand. They ain't got to repeat it twice. They ain't got to say too much.
Most men don't repeat, boy.
Yeah, ain't got
the kids, they get it.
Yeah, they get it. Son will start crying just like that. My daughter kind of, yes sir, kind of. They get it. So I was like, okay, let me not do what my dad did in this situation. Not saying I came out bad. It's just I don't need them going through
The same mistake.
same
cycle.
stuff. Yeah, we not gonna do this. So yeah.
I think it's good, like you said. It's kind of like, you know, taking it a step further. You know, here's what not to do, but like here's what to do. Here's
Right.
things we can kind of, and here's why you do it, and here's why you don't do this. You know, JR, congratulations, man, new dad again. So I know you have a daughter and a son, and so you know, what type of dad do you feel you want to be? You know, even though you know your kids, I know you got your daughter's personality by now, but like with your son.
You gonna do one more?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Why you saying it like that?
Nah, this is it.
That's it.
Nah, this is it.
Unless God say, let's do it again.
This is it.
Okay, I got you.
What kind of father you think you're gonna? Is it gonna be like, you know, like G said, like different levels, and I'll do different things. You a pretty laid back guy, you know, and I know you like very calm. You very patient. You know, your daughter can probably be having a feel like, hey, what's going on? You know, you're gonna say that. You know, what kind of father you gonna try to?
Well, I do want to see them, you know, grow up to be their own person, have their own, you know. One, I want them to grow up to be having a relationship with God. So that's one thing I want to do to show them that from me having a relationship with God, I want them to see that through me.
Right.
The second
example.
Yeah, an example. And the second thing is, right now, like Warren said, we at the authority stage.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's
Authoritative stage.
Authoritative, yeah.
So ain't nothing I really can explain to them because she doesn't understand. Of course, Joshua was just born, so I guess later in life I do want to, I don't know, just you know, train them to just live life correctly, and you know, do whatever it is that you feel like you want to do in life and accomplish. I'm going to support you. So.
What about you, BJ?
Oh, man.
When you have kids, what do you think you want to do at this point?
Like as far as
How would you approach being, you know?
I mean,
father?
I would probably take a similar approach that my father took to a degree. I don't think his approach was by any means perfect. I mean, he was definitely very honest and whatnot. But I would probably take a similar approach, maybe more of a milder version of it. Yeah, I'll probably just do what he did to a degree.
So, what's that one thing, right, that you wish that your father would have either done with you or taught you that you didn't get a chance or that he didn't do?
Go ahead, Brandon.
Sorry, Brandon.
I say for me, I didn't have the confidence a lot growing up. I definitely lacked that. I think my father, he was so focused on making sure that I didn't repeat the mistakes that he made. That as far as just confidence, like just day to day confidence, like I didn't really get that. You know, like I was a very shy kid growing up. Very didn't like to be in social surroundings, things of that nature. I didn't feel like I didn't get my confidence up until my 20s, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I would say that I wish he would have did more of. Not that he did a horrible job, but just on that end.
Yeah.
So
That's deep, man, because I think especially for guys, you know, especially for black guys, you know, you need confidence. You know, confidence is a big part of being a man, you know.
Yeah.
You got to be confident, you know, in things that you do. Confident in yourself.
Right.
You know, that you can accomplish things that you put out to accomplish. What about you, Jay?
Me, I always, my dad, of course, is a pastor. I used to play ball. I played ball since I was 7 years old and was able to, you know, play a little bit of junior college basketball. But one thing I wish he would have done more was hearing that support from him, that you can do it, you can go as far as you can and keep pushing, and more of support from that, but I never got that. I mean, sometimes, you know, he came out and to some of the games, but just hearing the words would, you know, help you go a little further.
That encouragement.
Yeah.
Definitely,
So,
yeah.
I don't really remember ever getting that. Not from my uncles, because they knew how, you know, they knew the skills that I had, and you know, of course, my mom. I was able to go over to Belgium.
Yeah.
While I was in high school.
He was a baller.
You know, and to represent, you know, the United States. So, but you know, some of that does help when you get an encouragement, like keep pushing.
You know, I'm kind of in a similar boat or same boat with you. My dad's also a pastor. And see, being a pastor's kid, you know, it's that extra pressure. People on the outside looking at you like you're supposed to be like Mr. Perfect. You make a little mistake, man, they all on you, you know. And then I think in my head, my dad like, oh, I can't make my dad look bad, you know. But I think like you know, I wish that I would have gotten more bond time with my dad. You know, my dad was always busy, you know, like with church things, you know, busy doing that, busy working. He would do a lot of things like to check off the box, like, hey, I got a job. And, you know, because he wasn't getting like money from the church to do that. So he had to have a job and he had to, you know, be ready for Tuesdays, Fridays, Sundays, you know. And my dad is you know, his mind, you know, he's like a creative type of person. And so he's always thinking of ideas. He's the idea man. So he's thinking of ideas.
That's you.
That's where you got that from.
That's what
I got it.
So he gets all these ideas and he's like trying to implement it, but that takes a lot of time. And as a young kid, you know, I think I can say now, you know, that I didn't have a real tight relationship with my dad. I didn't get that until I got into my mid to late 20s. That's when I started seeing my dad a little differently. You know, of course, at this time in my life, you know, I was kind of like, you know, all right, you know, I'm away from the house. I'm being a man now, and I'm slowly seeing what that means. I'm slowly seeing why my dad had us doing certain things, and so. But I still wish I had that bond time. I try to do that with my son, but like my dad, because I am the idea man.
Yeah, you busy.
Yeah, I'm busy. So I'm trying to put my son in the headlock. Hey, come on, you gonna do some of these things with me, so we can get some time in. But what about you, G?
Yeah, I kind of wish my dad would have actually had those conversations. I would have loved to talk about the stuff instead of always
seeing
seeing
it.
Yeah, I mean,
Taking your own interpretation.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, let's talk about this. You know, I could have avoided some stuff. You know, I just rather, I would have enjoyed that conversation. Like, hey, let's talk about this. Tell me, be honest. Like, let me know what's going on. Like, you know, I don't need the whole town knowing you're on drugs and your son didn't know you was on drugs.
Right.
You know, the whole town knowing you dating everybody, and I'm just thinking I'm dropping you out. You know, I didn't know. So I would have rather, you know, I wish he would have had those conversations with me instead of, hey, just run me by here real quick. You know?
I want to piggyback off of that. Do you think that men in general, because I know myself, sometimes if I don't got the answer for something, or, you know, I'm a little embarrassed about something I did in my life, I don't really want to talk about it.
Right.
It's hard to do. Do you think men in general have this stigma? Because the opposite to me seems to lie in place. If you get a talkative man, he talks so much emotional with his stuff and just open, you know how we kind of start looking around like, oh.
Like, hey, you got a lot going on. Okay, yeah.
But what's that balance? What's that fine balance like with men in general? We can be more talkative, but then not too talkative. We can be more open, but then not too open.
Well,
it's a tough one.
I think it depends on the relationship.
With the person?
With the person, yeah.
Because
I'm just not finna go talk to
you.
At the corner.
Just open up to me. Like,
come talk to me.
No. Yeah, cause I think it's the relationship. It's got, you know, yeah. Because at work, everybody always talk to me about their problems. And I said, listen, I ain't saying nothing to these people. I do good to know their last name. I'm not finna sit and tell you all my problems. I listen to them and tell them, okay, yeah, it's going to be all right.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's all I can say.
That's the generic answer.
It's going to be all right.
Well, fellas, man, I think this was a very rich conversation. I think what I can pull away from it is like relationships, you know, increasing the level of relationships. And I think men have a lot to say. Yeah. It's just you got to ask the right question to men. You got to get them to talk, you know, because I don't think just the average man just not going to just start talking about feelings and emotions. But I appreciate you guys, you know, for this episode number 4. And so we're going to wrap this up right here. But remember, if you want to be on the show, just hit me up. You know, got my email, my information right here on the screen. Just hit me up. And so, yeah, till next time.